Hey everyone, welcome to a special BRAP rant on a Monday afternoon. Let me tell you something, guys. I'm sorry we missed last week's episode. I have been under the weather with allergies and sinus infections and shit. My I mean, my voice was shot to shit the last couple days. This morning didn't feel well. Sounded raspy. So, if you guys know who the DOC is, he is a he's somebody that Dr. Dre discovered way back in the late '80s, early '90s. You may have heard him on the album "The Chronic." He talks like this. He's like, "Hey, where's my motherfucking weed?" It's a bad impersonation of what he sounds like, but that's what I sounded like. Even up till this morning, and pretty much all day I was just drinking a lot of warm tea and honey, and my voice finally actually kind of came back after coughing up a lung this afternoon, and sounded like I've been smoking for 30 plus years. It sucked. It just sucked. And so, I haven't been able to podcast. I was supposed to be on Weapon Wheel yesterday. Couldn't do Weapon Wheel yesterday because of, just sounding like shit and not feeling well. So I hate allergies. I hate sinus infections. I hate feeling like shit. And it's taken away from my Sekiro time because I haven't felt well enough to even play any video games. I want to do this BRAP rant because I finally felt I felt like, okay, I feel well enough to do it. By the way, big shout out to Cal L, who just had surgery. Cal, wish you nothing but the best. Wish you a speedy recovery as well, man. Got to get you back on BRAP soon, and hope you're doing well, my friend. So the dude says 2 Z-packs later, I still haven't recovered from what you're dealing with. The dude, I'm actually going to the doctor's tomorrow. I have a 2:45 p.m. appointment, and I'm going to see the old doc and see if I was actually thinking about seeing if they would give me a Z-pack. Because, like, I'm still, even though I don't sound it, guys, I'm telling you, I still feel congested. I still have a sore throat. And thank God for Afrin, tea, and honey. So I'll leave it with that. And water. Been drinking water now. Excuse me. Speaking of water, I had to take a quick drink. So we have a special brat for you. No, we do not have Phil Harrison joining us from Google. Ha ha, April Fools. Ha ha ha. I wanted to do something special with April Fools, and this is the most creative thing I could come up with. Excuse me. If I start coughing in your ear, guys, I apologize. But anyhow, glad to see everyone in the live chat. Spartan God. Don't call me Danny, the dude. Um, Welcome, guys. Great to see you guys. Big shout out to everyone in the live chat who comes in every week to hang out with us. We have a really great group of dedicated listeners that want to come in and hang out and, just hang out with us and talk video games. So we really appreciate the support, guys. It means the world to us. So, don't call Spartan Gus says I knew it was clickbait. Yes, it is clickbait. Spartan God says, take the Z pack. Yeah, that's the goal, man. Take the Z pack and knock the shit out. That's what I hope happens. So we'll see. But anyhow, I have been playing Sekiro. Shadows Die Twice. I've been playing that. Oh, that hurt to do. I've been playing that, and I gotta say, I love the game. I can't say that I've always been a big Dark Souls fan. Did like the Demon Souls games. Played the first Dark Souls, didn't finish it. Didn't touch Dark Souls 2. Played Dark Souls 3, didn't finish it, but enjoyed it. Played Bloodborne. Really like Bloodborne. It's probably my favorite out of the Souls types games. And then now Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. And I haven't had a time. I guess for me, my problem with finishing games at times is that one, I have like 10,000 kids, and all my kids play sports, and there's always some kind of activity, and I'm busy. So with games that require, a heavy level of commitment, I often don't finish those games because I just don't have the time, and not that I haven't enjoyed the Souls games or Bloodborne or Sekiro. I very much enjoy them. I appreciate them for what they are and how different they are from. And in turn, when I mean different, just in regards to difficulty, um, have an appreciation because it's kind of a throwback to when I think of difficulty in gaming. It's kind of a throwback for me to the days when I first started gaming. When I think of games like, if you guys have ever played Ghost and Goblins and Super Ghost and Goblins, I mean that was a hard game, and we didn't have save points back then. You'd have to you'd have to start from scratch at times, which was which would drive you nuts. But we did it. We did it. If you were playing The Legend of Zelda, you were often using graph paper to map where you were going because if you died, you could get lost and not figure out where you discovered the dungeon you were at, vice whatever the case may be. They didn't have those maps that we have available to us now. Didn't have YouTube at the time, so yeah, there's certainly a level of appreciation, at least for me, with just the difficulty levels that some of these Souls and Sekiro games, Bloodborne has. And again, to me, it's a throwback to some of those old Ghost and Goblins games, Metroid. I say Metroid, I mean Castlevania. I'm thinking of those Metroidvania type games. Castlevania. I look those. Even some of the Ninja Gaiden games were challenging at times, and so that we didn't. Those games didn't have an easy mode. So there's been a lot of chatter on Twitter and on other media sites about accessibility to for video games and gamers, especially some gamers who might have disabilities and whatnot. And I think the conversation, my understanding of the conversation, and please correct me if I'm wrong, everyone in the live chat. Um, Forbes, Dave Thayer is a contributor at Forbes magazine, put out an article saying Sekiro Shadows Die Twice needs to respect its players and add an easy mode. And I think out of bringing that topic up, I think there's been some interesting dialogue that is kind of um, that it's kind of branched out from, I think, the original topic of whether or not this game should have an easy mode. I'll say my stance on gaming for individuals who have disabilities. Do I think the industry should try to make games as accessible as possible to individuals with disabilities? Sure, I think that's always a positive thing. Microsoft has done, um, uh, has released the controller. I forget the name of the controller for individuals who have disabilities who couldn't necessarily play a game with a standard Xbox controller. There was an article, I believe, of someone playing Dark Souls using their voice only. I'd have to go back and pull that up, but I saw someone use as an example as leveraging technology to allow people to have access to some of these games. Um, Now, there's this interesting piece that I took away from the article. It's about respecting the player, and I think I've seen that from both sides. Respecting the time of the individual, the person playing the game. One of the things that if you played Sekiro, one of the things that kind of stands out in terms of really a key differentiator from Sekiro to its cousins, if you will, like Bloodborne and Dark Souls, is that when you reached a boss that was giving you trouble, you could actually summon. So you could actually summon someone. Wow, say that 4 times in a row. You could actually summon another player to assist you, and you don't have that option in Sekiro. Now, that being said, you also don't have a stamina gauge that you need to take into consideration in Sekiro. You don't have that. A lot of the core gameplay is based on parrying, timing blocks, things of that nature, wearing down your enemy, um, wearing his guard down. excuse me, you can actually jump. There's a sense of there's this verticality which has been included in Sekiro, which you don't have in the Bloodborne games or Bloodborne. You don't have that in Souls. You can actually jump now, and so but you don't have to worry about the stamina bar. So that maybe that's the trade off there. Not having the ability to summon someone, but now you don't have to worry about the stamina bar, and you can jump around and stuff, and you're pretty nimble for what you would expect for a shinobi level character or ninja, whatever the case is. Um, so this idea, this concept of easy mode in games like Souls, even Cuphead, let's say, I know that's been. Hey, what's up, Monkey Punch? Um, Cuphead, and all these harder games. It's interesting. I I look at it like this, and this is my opinion. So, if you don't agree, that's fine. If you agree, that's fine. I always encourage. I'm okay with people having difference of opinions. I don't like the fact that gaming in some ways has become um that's the word I'm looking for. It's kind of falling on the lines of what you see and politics. And I mentioned that I wrote an article for the Iron Lords of Lords of Gaming.net, which you can actually, if you go to the Lords of Gaming.net website, that's the Iron Lords podcast website. Definitely check that out, by the way. Some great articles up there. I did an op-ed piece on is the gaming media bias, and I talked about how gaming in some ways has become like political in a way. Like where I think growing up we would identify ourselves as gamers. Now I see people identify themselves as an Xbox guy or a PlayStation guy or a Nintendo guy. And I feel like, and maybe for some of you guys who've been gaming, 20 plus years, I feel like that wasn't the case when, we were growing up. Like we were like, hey, I'm a gamer. Well, and then it was, well, what platform do you game on? Oh, I game on Nintendo, or I game on Sega. But it was never like I'm a Nintendo guy or I'm a Sega guy. I just, we never had those types of. We never identified ourselves like that. I guess is what I'm trying to say. So, um, so here we are, and this article on Forbes comes out, and it really kind of rattled the cages. I was really surprised, I think, by some of the reaction on both sides, both those who are for an easy mode uh, in Sekiro, and those who felt like, hey, you have some of those individuals who shame the skills of individuals who can't play games like Dark Souls and Bloodborne and Sekiro, and we'll tell you to get good. And uh, I thought that was interesting. I wouldn't shame anybody for not having skills or getting frustrated with Sekiro or Souls, and then not wanting to play those games again because they're frustrated by some of the challenges that those games present. And on that note, I'll say that I don't agree with the Forbes article. And there was a counter argument, by the way, of why there shouldn't be an easy mode in Sekiro that was actually published on Forbes as well. And I forget the gentleman who meant to actually put that up. I'll have to look that up here in a sec. But I don't think, guys. And again, my opinion. I don't think Sekiro or games like Dark Souls need an easy mode. Now, I get the argument if you put an easy mode in there, it's not going to affect somebody who's going to play the game on a standard setting. Um, they're going to, they're going to play on their mode, and if they choose to play on, it's not going to impact their, the overall, experience that they're going to have. And I get that each gamer has their own unique experience, interpretation of whatever experience they have when they're playing a game, because we all process things differently. We all have inherent biases, preferences, those kinds of things. So I get that. But, and I'm just coming from a perspective of having gamed for 30, 36 years, 37, whatever the case. I mean, yeah, a long time. And having played games that didn't have easy modes, having played games like Ghosts and Goblins, which was not easy, which was our, maybe, I guess if you want to call it, our Dark Souls at the time. Um, not having checkpoints, save points, not having those things, and some of it was um, developer choice. Some of it was because the technology didn't allow for it. Um, but I guess for me, I think part of the thing that makes Bloodborne and Dark Souls and Sekiro so unique. Uh, Chief says, "Get good" is a ridiculous phrase. I lose respect for anyone that uses it to put people down. Yeah, I don't. I don't. I'm not a fan of shaming people for not being good. I don't think that's we should be doing that. But that's I yeah. Um, Jez, what's going on? Jez GMG says, growing up, I was a Nintendo guy. One friend was a Sega, and the other was a TurboGrafx. We used to argue all day. I remember the battle when with Mortal Kombat came out and Sega had the blood. I do remember that. Jay Fonzarelli's in the house. What's up, Jay Fonz? Good to see you, man. Um, yeah, so I think if I look at games like Bloodborne, Sekiro, Dark Souls, and I think part of the thing that makes those games unique, kind of the thing that makes them, gives them that flavor, that uniqueness compared to other games, it is that level of difficulty. And look, it is, by all stretch of the imagination, we know it's a design choice. It's something that From has put together in terms of a formula. And look, I enjoy the challenge that those games present, because I can't get that anywhere. And now I've had, so I know someone's going to say to me, well, Enrique, you could still, you can still select your normal mode and still have that challenging experience that you want. Um, and someone doesn't have to, you don't have to have an easy mode, or you can have an easy mode, and that's still not going to impact um, your experience, because you're not going to be playing it easy. And I get that argument. I get that. It makes sense. But I look at it from the lens of that, having just a standardized mode and the challenges that game present, that it's a design choice by the developer, and it's a unique design choice. It's what gives that franchise its identity. And I feel like if we took away if we took away I feel like if we took away the that challenge per se, and again, you wouldn't. I get the argument. If you add easy mode, you're not taking away the challenge, but you're giving that option. You're tempting people to experiencing a game that it wasn't intended to. And I say that because how would you implement an easy mode in in Sekiro and Bloodborne's? I feel like maybe you'd have slower reaction times by the enemies. You could just button mash. Hey, what's up, Envy of Astora? You would lose health less. That, to me, that just makes the game And again, I don't know how they would implement it, but it seems like it would it would kind of make the game feel like maybe like a Devil May Cry type game, where you just, not that you mash buttons per se in Devil May Cry, but there are some combos and things that you do, but it would just take away the game's DNA, in my opinion. It would take away from the what makes it unique. It would take away from its identity. Jez 7780 says it spawned so many other games and the roguelike genre. And that's I think that's a great point because these Souls games have spawned and inspired other games that are challenging. We the Celeste, which was critically acclaimed, is an indie game which is very challenging. I haven't played it. Cuphead is not an easy game; it's challenging. Um, and so I just don't like. I guess for me, it's like let's not tinker with the vision and what the DNA and the identity of the game, what the developer wanted the game to be like. I just now and again, I'm not saying that, you know, games in general shouldn't be accessible to those who can't play games in the traditional manner or fashion. I do think that what Microsoft has done with the controller, I forget the name of the controller, guys. It's just escaping my mind because I still kind of feel like for those who are joining me late, I've been under the weather, so I still feel like ass. Um, but I just I don't subscribe to the notion of, you know um, an easy mode for Souls. Again, I just feel like it just takes away from the game's identity, and it has nothing to do with, oh well, it's because you suck, and no, it's not for everyone. It's not a game for everyone. I do believe that most people, if they put the time into um playing Souls or Bloodborne, can beat it. It's just going to take more time to um you know to it just takes more time to kind of learn the movement of the enemies. And but see, that's to me, that's the unique thing about, like, when I play Sekiro, like, I'm playing these bosses and they all have different movements, right? And there's subtle cues that let you know what they're about to do. And these cues, it's for me as a game, it's fascinating. It's like, yo, I need to be on my A game. I need to memorize and be aware of these subtle cues as I combat these enemies. I love that. I love that. I think that is so unique and so different from other experiences that I'm having in gaming. And it's that uniqueness that I love about Sekiro and Dark Souls and Bloodborne. And I feel like adding that easy mode, even though, yes, I would play on normal mode, I think if you play it on easy, you're not going to, as a gamer, get the experience that the developer intended you to have. And that's kind of my point. Now, you could, agree or disagree with me. I just feel like it takes away from how the developer intended the game to be played, how they intended the um experience to what the experience would be like. Jez 7780 says, "Remember Mike Tyson's Punch Out? We'd known the tales before the guy was going to throw a combo." That's funny. Mike Tyson's Punch Out was unique because when I first started playing it, I was getting knocked out by Glass Joe. And Glass Joe was like the first guy you fought. He was easy, but I wasn't paying attention, and there were subtle moves. Soda Popisky. Soda Popisky would, I think there was like this, like, I don't forget what he would do, like a tornado punch. But he would, I don't know, like twitch or something. He would give you like a visual cue to prepare for what was coming on. And then you would have to time your blocks appropriately. But see, that was the beauty of Mike Tyson's Punch Out, like that. And it's so funny that you mentioned that, because I get that satisfaction of, when I'm playing Sekiro, and I'm playing, and I'm engaged in these boss battles, that I have to focus on subtle movements that they're making, because they do. If you guys have played these games, there are cues. There are cues, and even Sekiro, you play a boss, even the mini bosses. There's I forget what they call it. There's a symbol, and I forget what the actual symbol name is. That lets you know like their special move is coming up, and be prepared for that. But outside of that, there are subtle things that they'll do, sword movement, steps that they'll do, with how they're going to approach attacking you, and that's, to me, that's fascinating. I mean, that's to me, it's thoughtful gameplay. It's thoughtful of, the kind of challenge that the developer's putting in front of me. I've heard people say, "Oh, it's crap." The bosses are always cheesing me, and I'm like, that's, it could be how you're approaching the game. You can't approach, and this is the beauty, I think, of these games. You can't approach them like a Devil May Cry. You can't approach them like Rise. You can't do that, because you're just going to get smashed. You're going to drive yourself crazy. And Nate says people lack the comprehension. Hey, what's up, Nate? And Nate in the live chat says people lack the comprehension to understand that everything isn't for them. The internet got dudes out there thinking everyone was meant to climb the mountain just because they want to. This is such an interesting conversation, because out of this initial conversation, there's definitely a conversation that spawned in regards to accessibility for those, who have disabilities, and obviously, I think that, we should do things. The industry should do things to, try to make games as inclusive, as possible to individuals who want to have those game experiences. Give me a sec here, guys. I want to Google something real quick. I think there was. Hold on. So, it's interesting. Like, we talk about accessibility, and I mentioned this, again, guys. I wanted to Google this because I think part of the arguments come up. Well, some of these games like Souls, they need to be accessible to individuals who don't have the ability to experience games traditional ways. And that kind of came up, as a result of this conversation of an easy mode in Sekiro. And, believe it or not, there was in 2015, Kotaku put out an article. Dark Souls player beats the game using only his voice, which is really interesting. Let's see here. I don't know how he did this, but I guess there's a tool called Voice Attack that can translate voice commands into keyboard presses, um, which allowed this guy to control his characters, in Dark Souls. But he did it. He did it. Chief Tommy says, "I know dudes that make a living playing games way more knowledgeable than most of us, and still have a hard time because he's in constant pain. The game is way harder for him. than the average person. Yeah, I mean, and that's that's tough. That's tough. With folks who have those issues. I mean, I think certainly a sensitive subject matter. I mean, without any stretch of the imagination, but I do think that there's maybe I don't know, Chief. Maybe there's um, I think that the Chief says that's BS logic. Nothing is for him. I think people are getting the physical aspects limitations confused with um preference. Like I do think that Souls and Sekiro and Bloodborne aren't for everyone. There's people who just don't have the patience, um, or even the skill set. And I believe this. I think there's you have to have good reactionary time. Um, you can't, just like in football, the quarterback. Um, the quarterback has to have fast reactionary time, makes decisions within 3 to 4 seconds. And so, not everyone can play that position. And I do think that's okay. I think that, um, all things aside, on an equal playing field, I think games like Bloodborne and Sekiro, they're not for everyone. I know guys who just don't have the patience for that game, who don't have the patience to study the game, or to try to attack the game in different ways. I know guys that are masters at pairing. I mean, it's ridiculous how quick their reflexes are, and how quick their timing is, and how they make it look so easy. Um, but I think that's different than saying, you know, um, someone with a physical disability shouldn't be playing games because they can't play them. Like I don't agree with that notion per se, because I think there's examples of technology. I just gave an example of a guy beating Dark Souls using his voice only. The controller, the Microsoft has developed more recently, is released for individuals who do have disabilities and can't use a traditional controller. I've talked about that, but I just think that, um, as relates to the game itself, yeah, it's not for everyone, and it doesn't have to do with someone's physical limitations. I think it just has to do with someone's preference, and I think that message is getting a little convoluted from what I've seen. Again, this is my opinion. I feel like it's getting a little convoluted in some of the conversations that I have seen. That, hey, it's not an issue of not making the game accessible to everyone. It's just that the game isn't for everyone. But that doesn't mean that, when it comes to uh, individuals who have physical disabilities, that there couldn't be something done to try to accommodate them, or try to have them have some kind of experience, or have accessibility to those types of games, or games, period. Daniel B says, I think everybody is on the same page when it comes to making games accessible for disabled people. Um, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I hope I'm getting that message across, because, you know, I think there's certainly two different conversations going here. And I just feel like what I've seen more recently on Twitter, I feel like those things have gotten the conversation has gotten muddled a little bit, where it started from an easy mode to, accessibility to individuals who have physical disabilities. Chief Tommy says, I'm sorry for getting a little upset. I just have friends with disabilities, and I believe they should be able to enjoy whatever game they want if it's possible. Options isn't a bad thing, in my opinion. No, again, I don't disagree with that, Chief. I don't. By the way, I don't. You don't have to apologize. I don't think you're getting upset. I think you're very passionate about this subject, and that's fine. Certainly welcome that passion, but I don't. I don't think that, options are a bad thing. My thing is this, and And I'll go back to my original point with the Sekiro and Souls games. It's the challenge of these games is what makes these games unique. It's a design choice, and it creates that unique experience that we just don't get from other games. And it's a development choice, and it's not intended to exclude anyone. We all have the option to go out and buy this game and play it. Whether or not we choose to invest and get better at it, that's up to us. Um, that's up to us. I mean, that's look, if you pick up Sekiro, you have the option of either learning the system, the parrying system, and there is training. You can actually there are sparring sessions, by the way, which trust me, I have been to these sparring sessions in Sekiro more often than not to get better at timing. And so you have the option there. I mean, so it's I feel I understand the argument of options, but we also have to remember that we have the option to play the game to try to become better as well. There's the option there. If we choose not to, that's okay. If we choose that, we say, hey, you know what, we're not. Um, we're not. I'm not. I was interested in this game. I tried it. It's not for me. That's okay. It's a choice. You have someone like me who says, "Hey, I know the difficulty of this game, but I'm going to practice this because I like the challenge it presents. I love the reward, the feeling of that I don't get from any other game in beating a boss that's challenging." That's There's a certain rush to Bloodborne, to Souls, and to Sekiro when you beat these bosses that are kicking your ass. I mean, it's nice. It really is. And I just don't. I guess my concern is, and I'm trying to be, guys, I'm trying to be sensitive about this too, because, I've had family members who have had disabilities. Um, I've had family members who've had Down syndrome, and I try to be sensible, and try to be sensitive to the fact that people should have accessibility to things as everyday other individuals, as other individuals do. Um, but I also don't want to kind of blur the line here. I don't. And again, I'm trying to be, yeah, I want to be sensitive to, to the topic here. And, but I also don't want a game like Sekiro to have an easy mode because, and this has nothing to do with physical abilities, because people find it too hard. And again, that has nothing to do, what I'm saying here has nothing to do with someone having physical abilities. Just want to reiterate that because that's not what I'm addressing here. I'm addressing that this game and these games aren't for everyone. And that's okay. That's okay. I don't think that every game has to be for everyone because we all have different taste. I feel like in the conversation of easy mode, something happened. Something got lost in the conversation that gamers have their own taste of the kind of games they like. Some individuals like challenges more than others. Um, some gamers, want games that they can, you pick up and beat in 5 hours. Um, it's just something that, I just feel like I don't want to see that lost, because we're trying to, and again, not anyone with physical disabilities, but we're trying to appease all gamers by making things easy for them. When what makes these gaming experiences unique is that, and special, and in my opinion, is that they're designed with this concept of this challenging concept that we just don't see in video games that much anymore. And it's almost a look at it has garnered a lot of praise from software to incorporate this type of gameplay mechanic. And it's, right or wrong, it's kind of created this cult following for them. And we don't have to agree. And look, there are people out there that have been kind of assholish to to people who don't. want to get good, at Souls games. Um, and I don't think that's right either. I don't think that for those of us who enjoy these games that we should be, picking on anyone because that's just ridiculous. Because it's video games. It's just a matter of a difference of taste, a difference of choice of the kind of games that we like to play and experience. So, um, and Nate says, and Nate, I'm going to go actually. And Nate, you said choice starts at the buying process. People tend to forget that. That's a great point. Chief told me, yeah, trust me, man. I know you're not directing it at me, and I trust me, man. I appreciate you. Wait, Chief, we don't always agree on stuff, but that's okay. We don't have to, but I always appreciate, you coming on here and sharing your opinions. It's always very welcome. You're always respectful about it, so I appreciate it. And I always encourage everyone in the live chat, even though we might not have the same opinions, it's always healthy to have a civil discord about and offering different points of view to things because, we may learn something from that. Someone may have a different point of view than you, and you may say, oh, wait a minute, that makes sense. I never thought of it like that before, and vice versa. I think there's not enough of that going on in gaming now. Um, so, um, just a very interesting, very interesting. Hold on a second here. Trying to pull up one more article. I think there was another one. I think there's yeah, no, there wasn't. I thought there was another article of someone else beating Souls in an interesting way outside of the guy who beat Souls just using his voice only. The Forbes now I did mention earlier there was a Forbes article um that kind of countered what was initially written. And the title of that article was "No, Sekiro Shadows Dies Twice. Absolutely does not need an easy mode." And oh, so this is interesting. So, regards to Sekiro, I didn't know this, but um, so this is mentioned in the Forbes article. Apparently, Sekiro, the game by default is set to is set to easy mode. Now, apparently, you can activate hard mode part way into the game. so so we're essentially the hard what's considered hard for us is considered easy from um so anyhow, I'm sorry, just reading some of this article. Smart God says, y'all know Sekiro is an easy game, right? Chief Tomei says to you. Um, Almighty, I will say that the outside of the mini bosses and the main bosses, um, the other enemy types are not that hard. I've actually found that they're pretty easy. The enemies are a little challenging, and I think the challenge with the enemies, at least for me, probably because maybe I'm jumping too much. The verticality sometimes messes me up. I found I actually feel like Bloodborne's probably a little bit is easier than um, I think Bloodborne's actually easier than Souls and Sekiro. Um, but that's just my opinion. Um, let's see here. Evian Store says I've heard that there were also Twitch plays Dark Souls and people were able to complete it. I'm not sure. Twitch play. You talking about Dark Souls Twitch streamers that beat Sekiro? Hey, let's not, hey, Spartan God, that's not a good April Fool's joke, man. That's Chief Tomei, you have a right to call him that, man. That was not a good April Fool's joke. Um, and so I guess this is interesting. The Forbes article that says Sekiro does not need an easy mode. They say that adding an easy mode would obviously create temptation for someone to take the easy route, and that would rob the individual or player from really having that experience or learning what um, Miyazaki had hoped that people would learn in playing this game, or giving Miyazaki wanted individuals to kind of uh, have that sense of achievement after beating these bosses, and I understand that. For me, there's a great sense of achievement in beating some of these bosses. I got to be honest with you guys. For me personally, my opinion, and I've had the greatest sense of fulfillment in terms of um like beating a boss battles in Bloodborne and Souls. Like, I remember when I first beat the Bloodthirsty Beast in Bloodborne. Oh, I was so hyped. I mean, I was so excited. And I don't get those kinds of experiences anymore. I did get those experiences more on a consistent basis. When I first started gaming, back to the um now that everyone in the live chat's taking the April Fool's joke a little bit too far now. Oh my goodness. Oh, I see what you're saying, Envy. Okay. Spartan God has a confession to make. He says he's a woman. We don't believe him. It's an April Fool's joke. Um, but I haven't had look, guys, I haven't had that sense of accomplishment in boss battles, and that sense of that exhilarating feeling. I've been, I think, playing Bloodborne and playing Souls in Sekiro. It's the first time that I felt that way in over 20 years. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's probably less than that, but at least this console generation. I mean, it brings me back to a time where, man, games used to fucking kick our asses. And I use like, God, if you played Resident Evil 2, not the remake, but the original Resident Evil 2, that kicked your ass. You didn't have these save points that you have in the remake, uh, in the original. And you actually go back with the remaster or remake for Resident Evil 2. You can actually turn on the original save mode where you'd have to find the typewriter ribbons to save. Um, but yeah, I mean those, but that was kind of like that was part of the challenge that we I remember just growing up, that we like really enjoyed about gaming. We loved consistently being challenged in ways we hadn't been challenged before, and and I love that. I love that about some of the old school games, and I feel like seeing that kind of challenge in Souls and Sekiro is just refreshing. It's just so refreshing. So, by the way, guys, for those who joined recently, Phil Harrison is not joining us. That was an April fool's joke. And I tell you what, I think for me, what I would like to see, I think people, you know, um, in the gaming community, I think I'd like to see people just all get along. Can't we all just get along? Is that possible? Oh my god, I'm sorry, guys. I've been sick and I've had a lot on my mind. So, um, but that's all I really have to say about easy mode on Sekiro. And yeah, I don't have anything else to say. So Chief Tomei says God of War 3 was impossible to beat on the hardest mode for me. I'm glad I had difficulty settings so I could test my skills. But it's interesting. And I really believe this. I really believe. All right. Can you guys hear me now? Okay. Eviasaur says yes. Oh, yeah. You know what, guys? I don't know what happened. Um, Google started on the. Yeah, I don't know. It just. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know what happened, guys. Google just started flipping out, and you guys couldn't hear me. So you guys can hear me okay now, right? All right. Hey, what's up, Fuzzy Belvedere? So anyhow, guys, that's my rant. I'm really look. I great conversation in the live chat, by the way. I really appreciate everyone sharing their different points of view on this particular subject. And look, I think it's an important conversation to have too. Especially with gamers out there who don't have the physical abilities to access games who want to. And I think that's a group that we shouldn't forget about either. Um, but at the same time, I think that when it comes to games like Souls and Sekiro and Bloodborne, I don't think that those games should incorporate easy modes because again, I think that takes away from the vision of the developer, how they intended us to experience the type of game that they're putting out there. So, um, but yeah, guys, great chat. I really appreciate you guys stopping by to hang out on this April Fool's Day. April 1st. I can't believe it's April already. This is crazy. I am going to the doctor tomorrow. Hopefully I get a Z pack. That's what I'm hoping for next week or this week. So, um, But yeah, guys, we will be back. BRAP's gonna be back on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So come hang out with us again this Wednesday at 9 p.m. We're actually going to, and I don't know how I'm going to do this just yet, but later on this month, with the release of Days Gone, we're going to be giving away a digital code for Days Gone. So DJ Sting says it's 4 a.m. Why am I watching this? I don't know, DJ. I don't know. I appreciate. I love the support and the dedication to listening to us at 4 a.m. So thanks for stopping by, man. We are going to be giving away a copy of Days Gone. I don't know how I'm going to raffle this off. I'm still thinking about how to do this. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you have any suggestions in terms of how to do the giveaway, please shoot me a DM. My Twitter handle is at BRAP I'm sorry, it's at BRAP BRAP P is in Paul underscore podcast. So that's at BRAP underscore podcast on Twitter. Shoot me a DM if you have any ideas on how do you think we should give away the free copy of Days Gone. And hey, we'll be back this week, Wednesday at 9 p.m. So look forward to seeing you guys there, and enjoy your rest of the Monday. Peace.